Berkel, and when we talk about community care, before I go there, I'll say I am the founder of Leaders for Change Foundation. I'm also the director. Within our community, we face many challenges. Some of the challenges is, of course, poverty. We face and see a lot of vulnerable families, a lot of vulnerable seniors, and these are some of our main target groups. What we're seeing a lot now is that a lot of parents are sleeping outdoors in abandoned vehicles, abandoned buildings with children. And that is alarming and, of course, concerning to us as leaders within our communities. Leaders for Change Foundation focuses on two main pillars. One of our main pillars, we focus on homelessness, rough sleepers, and vulnerable families. And our second pillar, we focus on disaster preparedness, and disaster response. Our day-to-day activities consist of preparing hygiene kits. We go out and we deliver warm meals to our communities. We work both on the Dutch side and the French side of the island. We also provide used clothing, household items. So besides persons that sleeping outdoors, we also collaborate with a lot of other foundations. Through collaboration, we are able to see much more of what is happening within the community. Knowing our history, because I say poverty didn't start yesterday. Mental instability didn't start last week. This was stemmed all the way back down to the root of colonization days. So if we know what our ancestors went through and we understand the process of slavery as well, we will also see how it's impacting our current situation today. So when we talk about poverty, when we talk about vulnerable families, when we talk about food insecurity, we talk about low-income households, we talk about unemployment, we talk about crime. It all starts from somewhere. So understanding the root cause is important. I remember growing up, when I was younger, my grandmother would prepare a big pot of food without knowing who would come to eat for the day. But persons would always pass, and whether they're homeless, they were guaranteed to receive a plate of food and a cold beverage. And I think we need to go back to those days of jollification, where we look out for one another and we support each other. Going out in our communities, it's really heartbreaking. You know, behind all of the beautiful seas and sun and hotels is the reality of what we're facing. And often people run from talking about that. And I do understand that to a certain extent that pride plays a very important role in St. Maarten. And what often happens is that people really don't have places to go to relay what they're going through in a manner that there will be trust. So what we're seeing is that persons go into, whether it's an organization or to individuals, to discuss what they're going through, and then their situation becomes a topic within the community, or it becomes a melee, and there's where we see the problem. So we often see people keep their situation to themselves and they hide away with their homelessness, and yeah, we're seeing this happening amongst more and more families. Sensitization, I truly believe, is key. Knowing how to approach somebody, how to speak with them. Matter of fact, just knowing how to listen is very important. And it's only when we sensitize a situation and listen to the person's story, then we could bring awareness. Because you could generally bring awareness on homelessness and generally bring awareness on vulnerability within communities, but if you don't listen to the community member or the individual and what they have been going through, you can be impactful to champion their cause. We work with a lot of families. We are taking on more situations than what our mandate allows us to. But if we don't do it, then no one else will do it, or no one else will know about the situation to bring awareness to it. So besides just offering persons a warm meal, a hygiene kit, or a snack bag, it is also important as leaders for change that we champion the cause of these individuals. How can we create a pathway to get them out of their current situation by giving them hope through livelihood skills, vocational skills, employment, financial literacy. And I think creating those pathways and reminding persons that there's still hope, they too contribute to making a difference in their own lives. We were dealing with a case, one of our beneficiaries, and I've known this individual for more than 3 years, assisting. And recently we got very close to him and we championed his case. And he is a rough sleeper, so he sleep outdoors under rough conditions, actually. And he faces multiple vulnerabilities, and that's what people need to know. You're vulnerable in one position because you're homeless, you're a rough sleeper, but he was also vulnerable because he had, yeah, decapitated limbs. So his limbs were in a bad state. So therefore he could not move around and he was in a wheelchair. So can you imagine being in a wheelchair, sleeping outdoors under rough condition, having no access to food, water, or proper place to sleep? His condition deteriorated. And so we championed that, and we were able to, through collaboration, get him social help. So he was able to get his insurance updated and also receive a monthly income from government. Sadly, the key thing that we were championing was shelter. We have no shelter in St. Maarten right now when it comes to people outdoors living in bad conditions, or even persons that are being abused and have to run for their lives that become homeless. There is absolutely no place for them to go. So they are left to do this on their own. It's only through other foundations that we are able to find out about this, and then we help them. But this individual, and we tried, and I must say as well that the ministry that we were working with, they as well tried their best within their means. But after that, there was nothing else that we could have done, or the ministry. And therefore, we had to leave that individual in that state, sleeping outdoors, being ill. Sadly, I have to say that, yeah, less than a month after that, when he received his understand, his insurance, we found out that he had to be hospitalized, and then he passed away. So I just wanted to bring awareness when it comes to stories like this, that this gentleman was in this living condition for many years, knowing that there is an urgent call for shelters on the island. There is an urgent call to intervene where we need doctors that is willing to volunteer their time to go outside and help these individuals, or create pathways where these persons could go with dignity and receive the social assistance and the social care that they need. So these are things that we need to continue to champion and bring more awareness to, because we are seeing too much of our homeless and rough sleepers passing away. And a lot of them are passing away in the condition that we met them in. And that's sad. It's really sad. And I had another homeless guy. He also passed away in a very deplorable condition. And the last thing I remember he asked me for, he said, Ashma, all I want is a bed. I just want to sleep. My body's tired. Just please get me a bed. Get me somewhere where I have shelter, that I could say that I did something to get my own self out of this situation. So it breaks my heart that both of them ended up dying before we could have made that a reality. But it still could not have been possible because we don't have shelters on our island. And it's only so much we as individuals and foundations can do. There is a checklist that we ask persons to follow that can guide you and help you as well. You could find that on our Facebook page. You could also find it in this link. They will be put in a link whereby you could always click and follow the checklist, go through it. And if you do see someone on the roadside, somebody that looks a little distressed, a homeless person, and you can give something, do that. If you don't have anything to give, always remember a kind word means a lot. And sometimes it's even more impactful than an item. So, in my final words, I could only tell you that we can't do it by ourselves as leaders for change. We could only make a difference if we choose to do it together.